Chris, as I was watching the game yesterday, mistakes galore by the Cowboys. You had a holding penalty on the opening kickoff. Brian Anger dropped a snap.
Mm-hmm.
Kevontae Turpin muffed a punt.
Mm-hmm.
It was just ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Dak Prescott wanted to give Kendall Fuller a late Christmas gift, apparently, and almost did it twice. He wound up doing it the second time with the pick six that he threw. And it was by far the ugliest game that we have seen from the Cowboys this year. But the question I was going to ponder for the Cowboys is, did they peak too early? Have the Cowboys peaked? Because I kept thinking about the 40-3 destruction of the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Minnesota Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, it really hasn't been, great football. You've seen at times moments from this Cowboys team. You think about the 33-point barrage that they put on the Indianapolis Colts in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it really hasn't been great football from the Cowboys over the last month and a half or so. Do you think this Cowboys team peaked too early?
No, let me explain why. It may seem that way because there's two teams that are on a roll right now. The 49ers and the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals went all the way to Super Bowl last year. The 49ers were on their way. They were showing you the same kind of dominance late in the season last year. And, of course, the Cowboys ran into the 49ers in the touchdown Georgia.
Oh, boy. Touchdown Georgia. Stetson Bennett to Mitchell for the touchdown, pending the extra point. The Georgia Bulldogs about to go up 38-7.
22-yard touchdown
TCU.
Bomb. Adonai Mitchell.
Yeah, Adonai Mitchell on the receiving end of a 22-yard touchdown pass from Stetson Bennett, pinning the extra point. Georgia about to go up 38-7.
But back to the Dallas Cowboys, you would like to see them on the roll, but guess what? And I think Bobby and Sean and RJ were talking about this morning or maybe it was Broadus. Oh, no, it was Brad Sham. He said, I've seen it both ways. Last year, the Cowboys were on a roll last year. They hung half 100 on Philadelphia. They won 4 games in December. They won 5 out of 6. Their only loss was to Arizona. You would think they were rolling. Now, nobody believed that fool's gold, right? And they got smoked by a red-hot 49ers team. And again, the Bengals this year are looking like the Bengals did last year, where they took that roll all the way to the Super Bowl. And then there's other teams that, they've lost a game or two or whatever, and all of a sudden they flip the switch. I'm not saying this team is capable of flipping the switch, and I'm not saying they peaked too soon. I'm just saying what I said yesterday and the week before. Hell of a regular season record, but I can't trust them until they win some games in the playoffs. I hope they win.
Yeah.
They got they, in my mind, are the wild card. When you say the wild card round, how about the wild card team? Because you don't know which team you're going to see. The one that dominated the regular season or the one that has problems in the playoffs.
The Cowboys do fit the true definition of a wild card, it feels like, because at times we've seen them dominate competition. As I mentioned, the 40-3 beatdown of the Vikings, and we've also seen this team play down to its competition multiple times this year. The biggest example being the fact that they needed a 98-yard drive in the final minutes of the fourth quarter to beat the Houston Texans earlier this season. So
and gave up the 17-point lead to Jacksonville, which was not even the offense's fault. It was the defense's fault. What Jaron Kerr said after that game? He said, if we give up 34 points, if our offense scores 34 points, how the hell are we supposed to lose that game? If our offense scores 34, it's not even supposed to be close. That's on us, the defense. So we're talking about both sides of the ball. You can point your fingers all kind of directions and whatnot. But in the game yesterday itself, I was talking about this in the crosstalk, and Brad Sham talked about it this morning with the Sean and RJ show. And I tweeted about this. I actually tweeted, have they dumbed down the offense on purpose for this game? And the reason I asked this is because I was talking to people during the game. And I'm not just talking about just regular old people and fans. I'm talking about former players and different people who have NFL experience in various capacities. And it was like Kellen Moore and the offense aren't doing anything to counter anything that's going on. And Brad kind of broke it down even better. Brad was saying they may have gone into this game with a simplistic game plan, knowing that, okay, you want to, what we were saying, you want to get out of this thing alive, not get anybody hurt. You just want to execute, get out of there, right? And they never deviated from it, in spite of the fact that Unger got the punt block or fumbled the punt, and then the muff punt return by Kevontae Turpin, and you go and Dak's pick 6. All those things you would make adjustments to. You say, okay, let's do a 2-minute offense or something. No, they didn't do anything. The only time that they looked like they did anything different or much more than normal was when they, just before the touchdown pass to CD Lamb, Dak ran for it for the first down.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was like hand the ball off.
That was their best drive of the game, was the touchdown drive.
Exactly. But they didn't do any kind of adjustments at halftime. It was like they weren't doing anything. Now, don't get me wrong. They didn't want to look bad. They weren't trying to lose, but they were not deviating. Brad also said this. He said the coaches knew the score in Philadelphia. Now, it'd be different if Philadelphia was behind. Perhaps they would have been more aggressive. Perhaps they would have showed some of the things they've been doing all season long. But they stayed true to their game plan, which was, hey, we're going to do this basic thing and try to get the hell out of here without no injuries. But they got some injuries. Bland got hurt.
Last thing I'll say before we go to break real quick, and Jaron Kearse, you were just mentioning him about, what he had felt after, obviously, the Jacksonville game. And this is a player who's kept it real all season when it comes to his comments about this team and what they have and what they haven't been. And what he said about the Cowboys playing their best ball, saying, quote, "No, we're not. We want to, but we're not. We're just not playing. I don't know what it is." That coming from Calvin Watkins of the Dallas Morning News. That's really concerning. When one of your leaders on your team's like, I have no idea why we aren't playing our best ball right now. That's kind of frightening, because that should not be the conversation heading into a matchup with Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.